Hi, Natalie and Star, and here's another one called Mr. Meddle and the Chestnuts. Mr. Meddle was very fond of roast chestnuts. He liked to make a little hole in them and put them down as close to the fire as he could without getting them burnt. Then, when they were quite cooked through with the heat of the fire, he poked them away from the burning coal and let them cool in the fender. Then he peeled them, popped the delicious roasted nuts into his mouth, and ate them. But this year there were no chestnuts in the shops. Mr. Meddle was very sad. He told his friend Jinky about it. I'm going to miss my roast chestnuts very much," he said. "Just can't seem to buy them anywhere." "Oh, don't you know any trees that grow them?" asked Mr. Jinky. "I know lots of horse chestnut trees," said Meddle. The kind we call conkers when they fall to the ground and split open their prickly cases. But I don't know any trees that grow eating chestnuts, do you?" "Oh, yes," said Jinky. "I'll tell you. You know the bluebell wood, don't you?" said Jinky. "Yes," said Meddle. "Well, go right through it till you come to the big oak tree in the middle," said Jinky. "Then turn to the right, go down the little path there, and you'll soon come to 2 or 3 big eating chestnut trees." "Well, how shall I know them?" asked Meddle. "They're not like horse chestnuts, are they?" "Not a bit," said Jinky. "You'll know them, my dear Meddle, because they are growing the eating chestnuts you love." "Are they in prickly cases like the conkers?" said Meddle. "They are in cases, but much, much more prickly ones than the conkers," said Jinky. "What a lot of questions you ask, Meddle." "Well, I want to be sure I don't make a mistake," said Meddle. "I'm always making mistakes, and I'm trying not to now." Well, that afternoon Meddle took his biggest basket and set off to Bluebell Wood. He took the little path to the right when he came to the oak tree, and very soon he arrived at the 3 chestnut trees. Their leaves were quite different from the conker trees, he knew, but Meddle couldn't help knowing they were the right trees, because underneath them were scattered heaps and heaps of eating chestnuts, some still in their prickly brown cases, and others tumbled out, dark brown and shiny. "My word, I shall have a lovely lot to take home and roast," said Meddle, pleased. He began to gather them up and put them into his basket. "What nice big ones they are," thought Meddle, "and oh my goodness me, look at that one." Now, the one that Meddle was looking at wasn't a chestnut in a case at all. It was a small, brown, prickly hedgehog that had wandered up. And as soon as it saw Meddle, it had curled itself up tightly so that it was nothing but a round ball of prickles. There it lay on the ground, perfectly still, looking for all the world like a very big chestnut case, all prickly. Meddle picked it up. The prickles hurt his fingers, so he soon dropped it into the basket. "What a giant chestnut must be inside this prickly case," he thought. "I'll open it when I get home and see what kind of a chestnut there is here. Maybe there are 2 or 3. What a find!" He carried his basket home. The hedgehog didn't move at all. It was frightened. It knew that as long as it stayed tightly curled up, nobody could harm it. So there it lay in the basket, looking just like a big prickly chestnut. When Meddle got home, he was hungry. "I really think I will roast a few chestnuts at once," he said. "I feel as if I could eat a whole lot. I'll open this great big one first to see how many nuts there are inside it." But of course he couldn't open it. The more he tried, the more tightly the hedgehog curled itself up, and Meddle pricked his fingers so badly that they began to bleed. "Oh, you horrid chestnut," said Meddle crossly. "I'll just put you straight down beside the fire as you are, and you'll have to open them, and I'll get out your nuts." So down beside the fire went the hedgehog, along with a handful of nuts. Meddle sat down to watch them roast. Now the hedgehog didn't like the fire at all. It was much too hot. It lay and thought what would be the best thing to do. It didn't want to be cooked, didn't want to open itself and be caught. But as the fire felt hotter and hotter, the poor hedgehog knew there was only one more thing to do, and that was at once. "I must crawl away, I really must," it thought. So it opened out a little, put out its funny little snout, and began to crawl away from the hearth. Meddle suddenly saw it. He thought he must be dreaming. He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The hedgehog was still crawling. "My chestnut's walking," yelled Meddle. Then he saw the little creature's nose, and he gave a yell. "My chestnut's got a nose. It's got eyes. Goodness gracious, it's grown legs too." The hedgehog tried to get over the hearthrug. Meddle gave another yell and rushed out of the house. He bumped into Jinky and held on to him tight. "Now what's the matter?" said Jinky in surprise. My big chestnut is walking on the hearthrug, cried Meddle. Oh, don't be silly, said Jinky. And it's got a nose, said Meddle, clinging to Jinky, for he really felt very frightened. You must be mad, said Jinky. Who ever heard of a chestnut with a nose? And it's got eyes and legs too, said poor Meddle. Oh, Jinky, it must be magic. Oh, I don't like it. I'll come and see this particular chestnut, said Jinky. So he went into Meddle's house and looked around, but the hedgehog had heard him coming and had curled itself up tightly under a chair. Jinky looked at it. There it is, said Meddle, pointing. But how funny! It hasn't got eyes or a nose or legs any more. Jinky knew at once that it was a hedgehog. How he grinned to himself. We'll soon make it grow eyes and noses and legs again, he said. Look, get me a saucer of bread and milk for your giant chestnut, Meddle. Bread and milk for a chestnut to eat, said Meddle in the greatest surprise. Whatever are you talking about? Look, go and get it, said Jinky. So Meddle went to his larder and soon came back with a saucer of bread and milk. Jinky set it down beside the tightly curled hedgehog. The hedgehog smelt the food. It uncurled itself and out came a little nose. Meddle gave a squeal. Look, it's come alive again. The hedgehog went to the saucer on its short little legs and began to eat the bread and the milk. Meddle watched in the greatest surprise, his eyes nearly falling out of his head. Well, when the hedgehog had finished the bread and milk, Jinky took out his handkerchief. He wrapped it round the little prickly creature and lifted it up. The prickles were caught in the handkerchief and could not hurt him. If you don't want this giant chestnut, I'll have it, he said. Take it with pleasure, cried Meddle. I don't want such a peculiar thing in my house. You seem to know what to do with it anyway. Well, I've always liked hedgehogs, said Jinky with a grin. They eat all the slugs and grubs in the garden. I never heard of anybody but gypsies trying to roast a hedgehog before. Another of your little mistakes, I'm afraid, Meddle. And off he went, grinning so broadly that a smile reached each of his ears. Well, well, well. What will old Meddle do next? I simply can't imagine. Can you?